A warm welcome to a Podful of Saints on a chilly Wednesday night as we head towards the end of November. Actually, 22nd of November, 2023 today. We're 101st anniversary of Billy Minter's 7 goals against Dulwich Hamlet. When he did what all good Albans City sides do, we lost. Right, welcome to the pod with myself, David Tavener, holding his head already had enough, I think. Lee Wood.
I've had enough weeks ago, Tabs, but we shall persevere, fellas. How are we? Are we good?
Couldn't be better. Everything's rosy in our garden.
Lying swine. Lying swine. Right, off we go.
What about you, Jake? Can you lie or are you down and depressed?
Yeah, just thinking about a lot of things after the last couple of days. Yeah, but hello, everyone.
Whatever you do, don't think about football. Right, we go back to last Saturday, Woodside Park, FA Trophy second round, Bishop Stortford 3, St Albans City 1, Stortford struggling, one off the bottom of National League North, lost 10 of the previous 11 games, 7 of them they conceded 3 or more goals, so when we take an early lead, nothing is going to go wrong, we're going to go on and hammer them. In fact, it was a history-making day, because by the end of the game, we'd conceded our 200th goal in the FA Trophy. We were 1-0 up. We were comfortable in that first half. We were keeping possession. But I'll let you two go on with it straight away. But to me, we were doing it in our own penalty area, which caused them no problems at all. We had 2 other chances. We should have wrapped it up. But if you're expecting the side to stick away 100% of their chances to win a game, well, it isn't going to happen. You've got to create a lot more than that. And in the end, we thoroughly got what we deserved, I felt. Your views?
I think though the first half, the chances we did not put away were really the difference, weren't they? Well, not really the difference. They're one of the factors. I think there's 2 there that Akambi's just got a bit too much on it. Dylan's second one, he really should score. But as you say, when we went up inside 8 minutes, we thought, oh, this could actually be quite a comfortable afternoon. We look happy here. We look comfortable. Stortford don't look like they're up to a terrible amount. And then, 5 minutes before half-time, a silly goal to give away, sadly, from a player who I thought was pretty good on Saturday, Hoddle, compared to a lot of the other players. I thought he did quite well. Shame for him to make that mistake. But for me, the way we came out after that second half was extraordinary, wasn't it? And it's just another second half display. And we've had quite a few of them this season. We've touched upon it in recent weeks on the podcast, where it was like a different team totally, wasn't it? It was just bizarre. And it all went wrong. And I say, Dave, by the end, felt like we very much got the result we deserved.
Yeah, will you go along with all that, Lee?
Yes, what Jake said and a few of the other lads that went as well. I mean, I'm watching back the highlights. I actually watched the Stortford set of highlights as well, because there were 2 very sort of contrasting pieces of media, given the fact they were covering the same team. Listen, it's got to the stage now where I think that David Noble is a broken man. You can see in his interviews. There was one phrase that he kept using, and it's a phrase you absolutely want people to hear when you're trying to ensure them that you're in control of this situation and that you've got this absolutely. When he kept saying, I don't know, to quite a lot of the questions, it doesn't really fill you with the greatest amount of confidence. He was never, as a player, he was majestic. He was brilliant, of course. But he was never one for ranting and raving. He was quite a shy, sort of insular person. He sort of kept himself to himself. And I think that's probably the detriment to his management style as well now. You know, he doesn't fill you with confidence. He's got all the answers to get this out of this hole. And we are in an absolute hole. As Jake said, how many times have we come out for the second half and pretty much within the first 10 minutes we've considered a goal? You know, I don't know what he says to them, but stop it, because it's doing us no favours.
I want to come on to Nobby a bit later. I want to talk about our tactics first, if that's okay. Because he wants his passing game, which is nothing wrong. That sounds great, passing game. Yeah, but do it in the opposition half. We do it in our own half, in our own penalty area, and it's cost us so many goals in the last, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months, a year or whatever. And you know it's an accident waiting to happen. That's what happened to the first goal. We were trying to play it around the edge of our box. Poor George Hoddle. He's one player I will excuse from any criticism of last couple of games since he came back. He got caught and they got a goal. It's the tactics were at fault rather than the player, because one player is going to make a mistake. It was his turn that day. It's going to happen. That came from our tactics, playing too deep. The second goal, we've got everybody back again from a corner, from a free kick. We say this week after week. What happened? We half cleared the corner. The bloke had all the time in the world to loft the ball back into the box when it came to him. There was nobody putting pressure onto him because we were all stuck in our own half. He chips it in, bloke out jumps Daniel Bowery, heads it on, and the other guy stabs it in. 2-1 down, we're chasing the game. Were we chasing the game? Other corners, we took all 11 back again. We weren't chasing that game. In injury time, well, it was Bowery was in front of us. He had the ball. Just get it into that box out on the right ring. No, what do? We go across the pitch. There's no effort there to try and save that game. George Morrell comes on a sub. We stick him out on the right wing. Well, last 20 minutes, what are we doing? Chasing the game? No, we weren't chucking men forward to try and change it and get the ball up there. We're doing our passing game. That was a self-inflicted defeat from the tactics, which came from the bench.
Exactly, but do you not think this relates back to the point that we were trying to make last week in terms of a lack of leadership and a lack of just free thinking on the pitch? When you're chasing a game, it's all very, very well, passing it backwards and forwards and maintaining possession, but that's not going to work, surely. Something must click in these players' heads thinking, look, hang on, we've got to step up here, otherwise we're out of the trophy. But again, all these tactics tabs, they come from the manager.
100%.
And it's a torrid circle, isn't it? And at the minute, it's just we're going round and round and round, and we've got no idea about how we're going to get off. It's a concern, but the players should take some sort of responsibility themselves. And what I would say is the fact that bar maybe MJ and Sean Jeffers, all of these players, they're Nobles players. These are your players, my old fruit. You've cherry-picked these players to come and play for your team in a system that you want to play. So if it's not working, it lands firmly at your feet. So either you've got to drill into them the fact that this is not good enough, or the players themselves have got to take some sort of responsibility, because I know that Nobby's absolutely copying it at the minute, and rightly so, but the players themselves, they've got to shoulder a little bit of this blame.
Still forgot their third goal just before the hour. What did you expect that last half hour, Jake? Did you expect us to throw men forward and try and get back into it? Because it's a one-off. You don't get a second chance at this. There's no extra time. It's straight to penalties, no replay. Or did you think we just carry on playing our game, a normal game?
Well, I expected us maybe to come out and maybe fight a little bit more. I don't think we really did that. I actually can't think of another opening we created, to be honest. Not a proper one. I think we had a couple of crosses in maybe, but apart from that, it was as if we just rolled over and accepted it, wasn't it? And I sort of mentioned last week that we're a team that is probably looking low on confidence. And that was the confusing thing for me on Saturday. That first half, at least the first half hour, we looked like a team with some confidence. We were in the lead. We were looking okay. We had a lot of the ball. I know it wasn't the most incisive football, but we did create a couple of openings. Second half, we just reverted to that team that looked so low on confidence, didn't know what to do, didn't know what the plan was, didn't know how to execute a plan, didn't even look like it wanted to care about the FA Trophy at all, which was a real shame because we know how much the FA Trophy can mean. And if I go back to that opening 5 minutes of that second half, it was like the Wild West in our defence. Every time Stortford went forward, it's just like, yeah, there we go, capitulation incoming. It was absolutely frightening to see how poorly we came out after that second half. It was bizarre to watch. And that second half at all at Stortford was, as a whole, just so sapping as a supporter to have to watch that and try and get behind the lads. But in reality, the lads need to actually show us something to try and get behind them. And there just wasn't anything.
No, it's incredible. Dylan Farge put us ahead, was it 8 minutes with his sixth goal of the season? And I think Stortford probably made us look better because they'd gone. They were expecting another defeat by the looks of it then. And they probably didn't expect us to not go at them. They probably expected us to hammer away. So on the half hour, their goalkeeper, Jack Diddins, goes down with an injury. It's a bit like watching Michael
Yes.
Jordan. Look, what, I've got an injury. It's all right, John. I know yours are genuine. And down he goes. All their lot shoot straight off to the bench. See Steve
Yeah.
Smith, the manager. Some of ours went over to Nobby, some stayed on the pitch, blah, blah, blah. The game changed with that. We've seen it so many times. Billericay changed their game. Farnborough changed their game. Tonbridge changed their game. Week after week, these sides are seeing what's happening. They're able to change their game. We can't. We've got big problems. Whether the message isn't getting across from the bench or nothing's coming from the bench or the players aren't good enough, you could probably chuck it all in together. And that's why we've got the absolute mess we've got. And that stat, taking the lead, last 6 times we've taken the lead, we've only won one of those. We've lost 4 of them. There's 9 times this season we've conceded the first goal. Only once have we not avoided defeat in those 9 games. This side, backbone, can't see it.
No backbone, no leadership, just bereft of ideas. There's a real crisis of confidence going through the club at the minute, and if that was supposed to be their response to the Tunbridge game and the Braintree game before that, that was an absolutely shocking way of showing it, because it's just a continuation, wasn't it? Lack of concentration. But how many chances do we give these players? Yes, you can have your 30 minutes of fun in the first half, but if you end up shipping 3 goals in the process, it's not really how you start the game, fellas. It's how you finish it. And at the minute, we're just not getting there.
Of course, you can be kind to Nobby. Say the injuries are ridiculous. Again, we picked up at least 2 more last night, maybe even 3. We don't know. We weren't told. The injury situation is absolutely shocking. He doesn't play on it too much. He did mention it a little bit last night and Saturday at last. But from what we've seen of him, isn't it fair to say, the football we're seeing now, if you just change the faces, you're still going to see the same football?
Certainly, to me, it feels that way. And I think what confuses me is the football we're playing at the minute is actually very different to what we saw when he first came in and what he was trying. I know his football at times last season wasn't most entertaining, but if you compare the last few weeks to some of the last season, I said this earlier to some Saints fans that we were talking about with some of my friends about high scoring games. And I was like, I've seen us win 5-4. I've seen us win 6-0 both way from home. When was that? Oh, it was only a year ago. It was literally last season in the league. And this season, feels like it's a totally different side. And I think probably part of that is probably the players. Maybe the players that have come in maybe aren't doing the job that Nobby expected, or maybe aren't up to the standard potentially, or just cannot play that style of football, or whatever. Fine, but even then, just feels like the general approach, at least in the last few weeks, has been so lackluster and just no drive or no passion behind it at all. And as you said sort of earlier, Dave, we just seem so easy to sort of work out, don't we, at the minute for other teams and how to combat us. It is really worrying, and you don't see anything changing at the minute, as you said.
We're just not creating chances. Everybody can see it. Or we create 1 or 2 and we expect to stick those away. It won't happen. It just doesn't happen. But 22 goals we scored from 18 league games. Well, you go back through our history, 104 times we played 18 league games in the season. And the 22 goals we've seen is down in 90th place out of those 104 seasons. It isn't working. How many more times have we got to say it in different ways? But it isn't working. And if Nobby doesn't change his ways, can you see him surviving?
I mean, I come on here yesterday with last week with a full-throated defence of the manager.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's helping himself. He just looks absolutely out of his depth at the minute in terms of the way he conducts his team, the way he conducts interviews. I know we shouldn't sort of delve too much into the interviews, but it's probably a fair reflection of where we're at. Just bereft of any clue about how we're going to address this. And Tavs, you absolutely say, this comes from the top. It's got to come from the top. I think the owners should be looking at the post-match interviews with great concern. Simply because, yes, the injuries don't do any favours to the situation. Of course not. However, there are still players there. He's bringing players in. I think tactically, he's got it wrong or he's getting it wrong. I don't think he knows how he's going to get out of this slump. We were in the pub last night, Jake and I, surprise, shock, horror, and the fact is we thought maybe when we were going to win against Weston, it would sort of paper over some rather large cracks. Turns out this is a bigger hole than we ever thought we were going to be in under David Noble.
Right. I would like to say I don't want to see Nobby go. I'd love to see him succeed, but he's got to change his ways because he's just going to sink himself with the way he's going. I mean, when you get your own fans, as we heard on Saturday, you're behind the goal with them, and you heard them when they're chanting, "We are effing shh." You know, it says it all when your own fans are singing it, saying it. Last 2 home games, probably more. It's been boos at the final whistle. You've got to change their ways. Right. You mentioned a bit about last night there. Should we move on to that cracking game of non-stop entertainment?
Do we have to?
Well, Nobby, if you listen to the interview, watch the interview, he was quite upbeat about the performance. Can either of you understand why? I certainly can't.
I think from maybe a defensive solidity position, possibly. At times we looked somewhat more solid. If you compare it to the second half at Stortford, I could maybe just about understand it from there. But from the general performance and display, no. And I think I'll let Lee take over here, who I suggest is going to say a few things.
I mean, if he thinks that was acceptable, he must have been pissed. He must have been pissed. The only thing with that game last night, it only became palatable when we went down to 10 men. And then, for whatever reason, those 10 left on the pitch showed a bit of endeavour, showed a bit of fight. Then they thought, sod it. Let's just sort of go, because otherwise, if we sit back and invite them on, we're going to get humped. I mean, okay, we lost the game regardless to an absolutely worldy goal, but from the off, you look at the team sheet, I mean, he packed the midfield. That's fine. I don't mind that. But you better keep the ball. If you pack the midfield, because apparently he earmarks their midfield as a really strong point for them, fine. Keep it away from them then. Don't keep giving it back to them in the middle of the park where all their danger men. It was, without doubt, bar the Braintree, which was just absolutely inexcusable. It was a shocking game of football to watch. No one there, I guarantee you, no one there supporting City enjoyed themselves last night watching that for the first at least good hour.
It was so quiet, wasn't it? That tells you something. It was just nothing going on. We weren't doing anything. Weston were able to do what we should be doing, which is passing the ball round in our half. They were just stretching us, playing it around. They had a few chances. Josh McNamara on his home debut made a couple of saves. Well, he had to, because there was no danger of people down the other end being called into action, because we just weren't going to do it. It was all defensive. Come on, Jake, cheer us up. You must have seen something positive from it.
No. Well, Sean Jeffers, he hit the bar. So there we go. I've heard of him before. He came on and did something. That was nice. Yeah, I will say I wasn't particularly impressed by Weston either. I thought it was 2 pretty poor teams for me on a poor evening of football generally. That first half, I've never seen 2 teams manage to be offside more with so little goal threat during the game. It was unbelievable. Every time both sides came forward, it seemed like one of them would be offside. It was ridiculous. I mean, tactically for me, and I don't like to get to tactics because I don't know anything about football. Everyone watching this knows this. But for me, there's 3 players there that positionally, at least in that first half, before we went down to 10 men, Rasulo, Blackman and Vice, all 3 of them, I have real questions about what they were doing and where they were playing. Rasulo seemed to be almost the lead striker at times, what some people would probably in modern football call as a false 9. You've probably never heard one of those, Dave. It's a new football tactical thing. It didn't really work, especially when a lot of the times, well, a couple of times we tried to look for the run behind, wasn't there because Rasulo is not a quick player like that. Blackman, I know he's meant to be central midfielder, almost ended up being the furthest forward striker at times and almost as a central attacking midfielder because he was the only one pressing. Great that he was pressing, but why is it, again, him having to do it? And then Vice, what stuck out on the right wing, almost playing defensive midfielder / right back at times. All 3 of those players, just very confusing performance. And like Lee said, I'm sure it all resorts to keeping the ball and packing in. But when you've got Sean Jeffers and the man who David Noble brought in to possibly replace Sean Jeffers in Ibiakambi both sat on the bench, it's just all very bizarre. And when there's so little attacking threat, it was just, I've really struggled to make sense of it all. Apart from it possibly being just the sort of game, Nobby, like, let's make sure we don't lose this. Let's see what we can build on from possibly a bit like Welling away back in September.
Well, you're right, Jake. Jerry Sulu was in a position which you won't have heard of because it's before your time, centre forward. And everybody said straight away, Sulu centre forward, Jeffers on the bench, Canby on the bench, George Morrell. Right, George he's still bringing him on. He's a youngster. You've got to give him time. Sticking him out on the right is no blooming use to anybody. And you forget, what is Nobby doing? Is it desperation, or is he? What is it? Why did he do that? Any answers?
Absolute. It's got to be desperation, isn't it? Absolute desperation. He's tried everything else under something. He's tried dropping Jeffers. He's tried playing Jeffers. He's tried dropping a Canby. He's tried dropping Meese, playing all together, playing 3 up front, playing 8 in the middle like we did last night. I mean, a lot of this has got to be down to the quality of the players, but I think this does stem. Nobby's trying everything. It's now got to the thing where he's scraping the barrel for ideas just to get something out of the players, just to try and get a result. All he needs is a scrappy draw and then something to build upon. And at the minute, we're just not getting that break. I think that's what he was looking at yesterday, just try and grind out a result, something to build on, something to get the players back into the spirit of trying to contest to win football games. But it is a hard watch and it's an extremely, extremely demoralising time to be a City fan.
Of course, we lost Nathan Carlisle inside the first 20 minutes through injury, which led to Ryan Blackman going into a back, I think it was a 4. Looked like it. So that's not ideal. It takes one out of midfield that you want. You just got to face up that things and do it. So that didn't help us. I lost where I was going with that one, actually. On about Weiss was out of position. Thanks, Jake. Where's the support when you need it?
Dwindling. I tell you, that's a...
Yeah. But the thing about Weston, Jake said they didn't look a good side. Well, they'd only won 2 of their previous 13 games. Stortford, we know, were on that atrocious run. So that with 2 sides, couldn't be more out of form. And they both turned us over in some comfort. What does that tell us?
Jake is right. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
They weren't the greatest side. Calm down. However, they were willing to attack. They were willing to give it a go. Yeah. And the fact they were offside so much is the fact they were trying to play football in the right half. It tells you something. It tells you that they were deep in our half enough to really sort of advance upon our goal. And that's something, I mean, first half, apart from Mitch's effort quite early on, first 5-6 minutes where he screwed it wide, I can't really remember us having a shot on target, a shot on goal of any worth. But look, yes, you're right. There's 2 poor sides there, but they were willing to give it a go. And I don't know whether it's a lack of fight. Taz, you've been watching this team a lot longer than both of us, mate. I think you'd be hard struggled to find a more out of sorts City side than this one.
I tell you, you don't mind you do mind a bad side. You don't want a bad side. But I would honestly say, I still don't know if this is a bad side. If the summer signings we made have really weakened us that much, we know that some of the players we lost last season have weakened us, no doubt about that. But the new signings, have they weakened us? Because the system is so bad. It desperately needs to change because it's just dragging the players down. It's only if they play a more expansive game, as you mentioned earlier. In the last 10 minutes of the game, we did attack. We went on the front foot, and by then Weston had decided to sit back, and they couldn't change back to a more attacking game. So we were actually pressing. Yeah, we had that one chance. Jeffers' header against the cross, but he got up superbly after Risulu did really well down the right. That was good all the way round. But it was too little. We've got to see more of that. Nobody's got to play that sort of football. If we're losing with 20 minutes to go, you've got to lump it in the box. You've got to hope for a lucky rebound, a break, whatever. This tip-tapping around, as it's proven with our results, just does not work at all. But the players, are they bad players? Honestly, don't know under this system. I don't watch England, but I heard the accounts of the last two games. Crikey, against was it who was it last? Malta and a part of Macedonia. We got 3 goals. 2 of them were own goals. Hardly had a shot, and it's the same sort of football from what I'm told. It's the death of the game. Gareth Southgate, I'm sorry, but it's not good for the English game. His record in years to come will look very good, but the football that he is promoting is being copied by the likes of us and others, and it's the death of the game.
Jacob, I feel as though we've digressed somewhat
I have to say,
new depths.
I didn't have Gareth Southgate on my David Tavener bingo card today. I had a lot of things, and a lot of those I've ticked off already, but Gareth Southgate was not one of them. I have to say, one minor positive was probably the defender that came on for Carlisle, Gautier. I thought he did all right in, again, challenging circumstances, I guess. I would like to know, and I suspect you have the answer to this, Dave, where was Partington from Saturday? That was an unexpected disappearance over a day and a half. Where did he go? Do we know?
Well, this is, again, one of the things we've banged on about this season, a lack of information about players. It is shocking. It is too shocking about the updates from the injuries.
You banged on about this.
Who's not available, who is available. We got him from Farnborough, wasn't it, early in the season? Well, he'd been booked with them 3 times earlier this season, and he had 2 bookings with us, so that's his 5, so I suspect he was suspended last night. But we never know. It's going to remain one of those closely guarded secrets. He'll be back Saturday.
There you go. At least we have one defender for Saturday. That's good to know. But it's just
right. Everything about last night was pointing to a City win. We won our previous 7 games, as we say. They'd won 2 in 13. Everything pointed to a City win. Our attitudes totally stank. It's interesting to look around the ground last night. Andy Leese was there, recently sacked as manager of Kettering Town. I don't know if you saw him. Second time he's been at our games recently, apparently. Of course, he has got a connection at Clarence Park. He was manager of Chesham United when we beat them in the playoff final. Was it 9 years ago now? Something like that. And his assistant then was John Meeks, currently number 2 at Clarence Park too. So it's a good chance for him to catch up yesterday. But when a manager comes twice to your games, you think, oh, he's sniffing around.
But Leese has been sniffing around for a decade or so. Every single time. I mean, his when he was manager of Chesham, he missed Chesham games to come to Clarence Park just to be seen. Harry Wheeler was there as well last night, which I think is just a dangerous prospect.
He's under 23 manager, Lee. He's got every right to be there.
He's not even manager, he's coach.
Coach.
But the thing is, you're going to get this, though, aren't you? Now, the vultures are going to start circling. I think it's inevitable. It's inevitable. It's going to happen, which I think I'm hoping it's going to spur Nobby on to turn this around, because I think even though the results aren't there and the performances are absolutely shocking, I think we all want David Noble to succeed. Because it's David Noble. There's nothing to suggest he's going to do it. There's nothing to suggest he's got anything in his arsenal that's going to accomplish that. But with all the will in the world, we want him to achieve it. But at the minute, it's just not looking great for him at all.
You wonder just how strong his backroom staff or team is. Because we mentioned these other teams. They change their tactics during the game and they go on to beat us. We don't change. What are our scouts doing? Have we got scouts going to games to watch opposition? Because it certainly doesn't look like it. And there's nothing saying, look, they do this. You've got to change and do this. It doesn't seem to be happening at all. That looks as dead as a dodo, the scouting system, from what I can tell and from what others have told me as well.
Yeah, but surely you've got to be reactionary as well. You've got to be look at what's happening on the pitch. The scouting network will only sort of get you so far, boys.
Yeah.
But David Noble, he's experienced enough within the world of football to know how to address things, or you would have thought. At the minute, there's no evidence of that. And I say it again, this is a real dark time for City and something that's got to be addressed one way or the other.
Yeah. Did you just see it continuing as we are, Jake? If he doesn't change his style?
I do, yeah, because if you look at our run of fixtures now, it's not exactly the easiest, is it, until the new year, if we're frankly honest. We were looking at the last couple of games, weren't we, and thinking, right, there's a chance here. If you look at the last three, including Tonbridge, chance here to get some points on the board. Now we've got a very tricky run starting on Saturday, which is going to be really, really difficult. And yeah, I don't see much changing. I think even if we do go for this sort of digging approach and sort of hold out for points, etc. I just don't see us creating anything up the other end. It is a real conundrum at the minute. Again, noticeable the amount of ironic cheers when Sean Jeffers came on last night. I think to be honest, I think that leads into them. There's already been discourse about Nobby this season, and I think the way he's managed those sorts of situations doesn't help him at all as well. It all builds up, doesn't it? It's all building from the high of the end of last season, and even the way we lost that playoff final. I think afterwards, most fans sort of saying, "Fine, that's it. We lost to the better team. Let's go again. Let's build again for the new season." And we heard that David Noble talked about how that result made him desire going one step further this season. It is just a polar opposite, isn't it? Now the world we're in at the moment with the Saints, and unfortunately, I just don't see anything changing. But I do wish it for, because I want Nobby to succeed. I want the Saints to be successful.
Yeah.
I'm not in the business of particularly being interested in sacking managers. I want this to work for everyone. And there is still time, but that time is really, really running out now.
Is there time though, Jake? Seriously, because you hear what we hear on the terraces, mate, and it's not us. It's the people that rarely frequent Clarence Park. They sort of come and go. The floating fans, if you like. They don't really go to the away games. They only see what's on. Nobby was copping it big time from a load of old fellas at the side down by the boardroom last night, really giving him some stick. You talk about time. He got off on a bad foot. He picked a battle with Sean Jeffers. You got an inexperienced manager or the star striker. There's only going to be one winner there. I think that shows his naivety in terms of that. Yes, we support David Noble. Of course we do. But there's only so many times you can flog a dead horse, mate. And I think something's got to happen quickly. Dave, bringing you in, mate. You're looking at the fixtures there. Our owners have never been quick, rightly or wrongly, to change the manager, to get a new manager in. They're historically going to give their manager time, but even they must look at the situation now, the way we've plummeted down the table, the poor run of results, the poor performances. Okay, it was Weston at home on a Tuesday night. It was never going to be a massive draw, but the gates were down on what they normally would be. You keep losing games, mate, that's going to happen on a Saturday. And I think the only time the owners really take notice is when the gates are down.
I'm looking at that fixture list, Lee, and all I can see is points, and more points. Can't see any for us, mind you. The Sean Jeffers thing. He had 2 games. He didn't get a goal in open play, so we drop him. You could say he doesn't look a shadow of a player. He's a shadow of a former player, I should say. But although I thought last night when he came on, he tried to be lively. But what's he got to feed off? Stortford fizzed one ball across the face of a goal. What did he have yesterday? Not a single pass. We created nothing for him. Messi wouldn't have scored out there. Yeah, I got fed up. Southgate moves on to Messi now. He wouldn't have scored because we're not getting the ball up to them. There's not a cat in hell's chance. And also, in a way, he's doing his pre-season. He's missed so many games, just coming on for 5 minutes here and there. You've got to give him a run of 6, 7, 8 games. And you've got to get chances created for him. And then we start seeing the old Sean. If we don't see it, then yeah, time to get rid of him. No polite way of saying it, sorry, Sean. But we still think there's a goal scorer there. But not one. I defy anybody to be a regular goal scorer with this way we're playing at the moment. So few chances. Even a Canby's going to struggle because he's not going to get many chances. And he looks as though he needs a few. So that's the situation. You're right. It's not been handled well. It's going to change, though. It's going to take a change of way we play to get the best out of Sean if we are going to stick him back in there and give him that run.
You're absolutely spot on, Tag. But don't forget that Sean Jeffers' confidence is probably shot to shit because in pre-season, it was basically a vote of no confidence from the manager towards you. And how is he supposed to pick himself up for games? I mean, he's gone about it professionally. He's adapted himself. He's been to training. When he's come on, he's always asserted himself. He's applied himself well. He's tried his best. But as you say, he's not being used. He's almost probably scared that if he does make a mistake, he's going to be dropped. Sean, you're going to be dropped anyway, mate. Because unfortunately, the only real reason this situation you're in is between you and David. And the fact is that, his confidence is rock bottom, as is with all the players. And that only stems from one person.
Indeed.
This is chirpy,
right,
isn't it?
Change it. Well, we can't even look forward to Saturday and say, what changes would you make? Because we've got not a clue on the injury situation. So it's not even worth guessing, is it?
I mean,
whatever it is. Go on to Jake, sorry.
I suppose, the only options really are, if these players are injured as they are, central defence is going to be Partington and Gautier, I guess. But then otherwise, what else is there? Surely we see one or two bodies brought in this week, be those loans or short-term loans or one or two permanent signings, whoever they are. Surely we see something this week, I'd have thought, just in terms of the injury situation. It is ridiculous. You've got so many players out. Unless, to be fair, our players, they do sort of come back unannounced, don't they? We don't get any updates on them. So maybe one or two may return suddenly. It's not Easter, it's November, but there's the miraculous recovery of these players that could possibly happen. But I don't know. It's surely we see some people come in this week just to bolster the squad a little bit. Because again, if you get another injury on Saturday, you're just down to bare bones. Well, you're already down to bare bones, especially for a tough game on Saturday as well.
The thing is, though, to get back to his point, Jake, you're bringing in new players, but as Tav says, if they're being told to play the exact same way, it doesn't really matter because the end result is going to be exactly the same way, isn't it? I think Tav's his point. There's got to be a whole new mindset to the way we approach these football games now. Because nobody must look at himself and think, right, I've had 20 odd games or whatever it is I've had now. It's not working. It's not working. It's not as though we're unlucky in quite a lot of these games. We're getting outplayed massively for large periods of it. And unfortunately, as Tav said, it's got to change fundamental to the way we approach this team, because the way that we're doing it at the minute isn't working, and it's been hugely, hugely detrimental to Nobby and the legacy that he's had as well.
This coming Saturday, Maidstone United at Clarence Park. There's a player in their ranks now, Liam Soul. Ian Anson always rated him a highly skilled player. And he said at Nottingham Forest, they rated him as well. But he had a psychological block which stopped him performing to the best of his ability. And so, twice he didn't succeed at us. And now he's gone to Maidstone, and he's playing regularly there and doing quite well, by all accounts. Should be interesting to see him Saturday.
Well, he's going to score. So, we've got that.
How many?
As you said, but then that sort of player, as we never saw the best of him, did we? Until I don't think most Saints fans were ever particularly upset about losing him in the summer. You just worry that sort of player will cause us trouble, don't you? That sort of speedy, energetic player could cause all sorts of trouble. Maidstone, they're going to be very difficult to face. They haven't had the most amazing of campaigns, but compare it to us now. They've certainly found a bit of form, haven't they, Dave? Apart from Hampton away.
Yes, there's not many L's in their list of recent results. Rather a lot of W's, which is worrying. All right, some of them are cup ties, but we won't count those. They haven't set the world alight since they come down at the end of last season, but they are still in. I think we're in the playoff position. I haven't got a table in front of me. So they are going to be very tough, and they'll be looking at Clarence Park the way we're going. They're looking at 3 points. And let's hope they are thinking that way. A bit of complacency. I'm sure we had it last Saturday at Stortford when we went a goal up. That's why we didn't go for the jugular. We just thought this job's done. We take it easy. We just keep the ball and we win it until we give them a goal. If Maidstone do the same, we've got a chance. But if they come at us, we know we're crack.
Well, it'll be very St Albans City, wouldn't it? We'll win this now comfortably Saturday after all this, after everything that's happened. But yeah, I say otherwise, I think the negative mindset is with the fans and the players at the moment now, isn't it? Everything building up to Saturday already is like, oh, this is going to be really difficult. So the only hope is that we can build some sort of siege mentality if there's enough time to do that ahead of Saturday. But nobody's got to get the players ready. He's only got one training session to do it. It is going to be really, really difficult. And I can't say my hopes are high, and I'm not sure either of yours are either.
It's funny, isn't it? At times like these, supporters drift away. They say, oh, we're losing. I'm not going to go. But you want to keep going because you want to be there that day. They get this magical result. It's happened throughout every football club's history. Out of nowhere, get a ridiculous win. It just shouldn't happen. Saturday might be that one. Let's hope so, for Nobby's sake and for our sake. And let's do it the right way, though. But let's not bore people to tears and steal it.
Yeah, and I think anyone that sort of does see us in the ground on Saturday, cheer us up. Come and buy us a beer, tell us a joke, something sort of funny, because we're going to need it. It's going to be a long, hard hour and a half on Saturday, fellas.
Yeah, okay, there we are. We're all very confident. Come on, then. Jake, how many are we going to win by Saturday?
I will go for a 1-1 draw, I guess.
I don't think you've predicted a defeat yet this season.
Well, it's working wonders, though, considering the results we've had. I mean, and the fact I'm leading the competition. There we go.
Yeah, you had to get that in, didn't you? 1-1 draw. Can you be more positive than that, Lee?
Absolutely. 2-1 Maidstone. Bosh.
2-1 Maidstone. No. That is outrageous. No, because it'd be 3-1 Maidstone. There we are. We're all confident. Well, we haven't got a game next Tuesday, so we then plan our trip to Plymouth for the following weekend. We'll worry about that next week.
Oh God! I saw a friend of the podcast, Neil Metcalf, was there last night. He looked like he was really enjoying the football display. So I'm sure he enjoyed it. But well, I suppose on that really positive note, Dave, unless you got something.
Oh, he's got something.
But talking of friend of the podcast, Ian Hall always claims to be the first person to watch it all week. But if you haven't got a life, you probably can do. He reckons last night's Western team probably had a record for players whose Christian name began with a J. There were 5 of them in that starting 11. He doesn't know the score of the game, but he can tell you that.
People that just walk amongst us in our world. Good Lord. Ian, my friend, get out. Just get out more, man. Love of God.
Ian,
anyway.
Ian, you need to ask Laura to let you out first.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, on that note, if you have anything you want to say, any comments, questions, send us a tweet on Podful of Saints on Twitter, YouTube, email description and email links in the YouTube description below. And I think on that note, that's probably about it for now, isn't it?
Do for this week. Adios.
There we go. We will see you later, everyone. Come on, you Saints.